My name is Kristin. I have been with Roux since 2013, so about 6 years now. I am an educational diagnostician for Jefferson Parish Public Schools, and I recently started coaching boxing at Roux.
So something cool just happened. Tell me about it.
So I have been diabetic since, I think this is my 11th year. I was diagnosed 11 years ago. And most recently I had my blood work done, and one of the things that they test if you're diabetic is your A1C, which is a 3-month average of your blood sugar. So diabetics typically hover around the 7 range and above. Pre-diabetics are in the 6s down to about the mid-5s, and that's pretty much where I've been hovering the past few years. And then recently my A1C was tested and I had a 5.4, which is below the pre-diabetic range, which is the normal range if you Google it. I actually was super active growing up. I played every sport. I danced. My dad was a PE teacher and he coached all the sports, so I did all the sports and I was very active, but I definitely had like some of those tendencies. Growing up, food, we always ate healthy, like always Nutri-Grain, like whole wheat waffles, whole wheat spaghetti, never had soda. So I was raised like pretty healthfully, but I always had those tendencies. Like I would definitely like sneak out to the grocery store down the block and buy a candy bar and like hide it in my drawer. So I've always had the tendencies, and I think as I grew older and I had more independence and could make, my own choices, I was making some good choices, but I was also, I guess, capitalizing on the freedom and making some not so good choices. So I went in for, I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling like, I don't know, every day something just felt off. Like my stomach hurt, I just felt tired, and I just felt off. So I went in and I had blood work done, and for some reason they thought it was my liver. So they sent me to a liver doctor. They did some, I guess, ultrasounds of my liver. Couldn't figure it out. So my parents came to visit for, I think like Mardi Gras or something. And I'm talking to my mom about it, and I'm showing her my blood work, and she looks at my glucose and she's like, yeah, that says 269, you're diabetic. And the reason she was able to know that was my sister is a type 1. She's been type 1 since she was like 12. And my mom became type 2 when she was in her 60s. My grandfather was type 2 in his 60s. So she looked at it and was like, you're diabetic. Like, I don't know what's happening, but you need to go to the doctor. So I did. I was diabetic. They put me on medicine. The standard, if you're type 2, typically they will prescribe you with, it's called metformin, and that's your standard pill. That doesn't work, then they add additional pills to go with that. So went to the doctor, the endocrinologist, and he prescribed, they did the A1C, and my A1C was, I think it was like 8.6, so it was pretty high. And they put me on the metformin. That had a little bit of an impact, and then like it had a little bit of an impact, but it didn't go down as much as you would want it to. So then they started prescribing me some additional things. So like there's different pills you can take, there's different shots that you can take that's not necessarily insulin. Like there was one he prescribed me, which I really liked because it made me not hungry, and I am like always hungry. And I was like, what is this weird feeling of like satiation? But it was like, I Googled it one day because someone told me it was made from like snake venom, and there was something with snake venom, very strange, but it was not covered by my insurance, and it was like $300. So I did that for a month and then stopped. Prior to the diagnosis, like I've always, like I said, I was very active growing up. I always went to the gym, but around the time I was diagnosed, I just wasn't working out as much. I was eating a whole lot, and I think this like kind of trifecta of factors came into play. Like I wasn't exercising as much, I was eating a ton, and I was gaining weight, and was gaining it in my stomach, which is one of the worst places to gain it. And the fact that I had a history, I think just created this perfect storm. So after I was diagnosed, obviously started taking the medicine. I did try to go to the gym a little bit more. Like I said, I love going to the gym. I just was at that point where like I'm tired from work, and then I'm tired on top of that because my blood sugar is so high. But I tried going to work, started going back to the gym. I don't know, like, I do know that I snuck out of my house one day. So I was dating someone at the time, and he was trying to help me. And I remember wanting mozzarella sticks really, really badly. So I was like, I need to run to Walgreens and go pick up something. I ran to Wing Zone and I ordered like a big thing of mozzarella sticks and ate it in my car. So that was not part of the like fixing the problem. But I don't know that I actually changed. I think I tried to, but I don't know that I actually did a whole lot to change like the health aspect. The exercise, like I always knew how to exercise, so like I was able to start integrating that. But the healthy eating, my head was always just on portions, because that was, you know, I knew that we don't eat fast food, we don't drink soda, and we watch our portions. But like, I think like the why behind it, like eat vegetables, like I knew you're supposed to, but I didn't really completely understand why. I did these things because that's what I was told to do. So when it came to making these changes, I did some of them, but I guess my investment wasn't 100% there because I didn't know the why behind it. So I joined Roux in 2013. My friend was a member, and so she knew that I was trying different things. It was just part of like a bigger trying different things. And so anyways, she brought me to Roux, and I took my first class, and Roux was really tiny right then, so I kind of just jumped in and, you know, lifted some weights. And I had lifted weights in the past, but more like just like bro sesh stuff at, you know, the Globo gym, but never like consistent weightlifting. So I went to a few classes and I signed up for like 3 sessions a week. And I really liked it. I was still going to my other gym, but I was really enjoying Roux. And then eventually I just got to the point where next thing I know, like I'm coming 5 days a week and I'm paying for my other gym, but actually not going there. And I had been part of the other gym for like 12 years at that point, and I loved it, but all of a sudden I was loving Roux a whole lot more. And finally, when it came to, you know, can't afford 2 gyms because you're not super duper rich, I cut the other gym and I became a full-time member at Roux. So I started doing the challenges. The first challenge ever, I think there was like maybe 10 of us, and then I think 5 actually made it all the way through from the beginning to the end. I did the challenge because people were signing up. It seemed like a fun thing to do. And when I did it, I think that was, so like I was kind of talking about the why before, that was when things started to become demystified. Like, it was always eat your vegetables, but I didn't know why. Now I know, oh, because you're actually getting micronutrients from your vegetables. You know, eat small portions. Why? Because you don't need to eat like 12-ounce steak at your dinner because it's actually overeating. So I think the challenge, it started opening doors for information. And so from there I was getting information, and then I was also prompting myself, or, you know, looking at resources to get more information independently. So I think from the first challenge, I went from, you know, eating like okay, but not really getting many vegetables, still eating out some, drinking Red Bulls all the time, and like still smoking, and like not getting much sleep, to, oh wow, actually you need 7 hours of sleep. So before, same thing, get 7 hours sleep, okay, but I don't really understand why. I have stuff to do. I need to stay up. But now I'm like very regimented, and that was probably one of the biggest takeaways I took from the first challenge, was like, you need sleep. Your body needs to heal. You need to recover. You need sleep. No, I forget what I was talking about. Yeah, so I think that was one of my big takeaways, and then just like the foods, and going from these overly processed foods to, you know, as little processing as possible. So instead of eating frozen chicken tenders, make your own. You know, that was maybe told to me before, but now I know why. So in those frozen chicken tenders, you have like 1,000,000 grams of sodium, which in your homemade ones, you don't have that. Why do you need to not have as much? Because that affects, you know, your blood pressure and all those other things. Or, you know, my blood sugar. Like if I go out and buy French fries, I'm going to probably have a lot more bad things in them than if I like cut a potato and bake it in the oven. So just, I think the biggest takeaways were the sleep, and then the movement away from those highly processed foods. I think the biggest thing is just having support, and knowing that there's people there that A, you can go to, B, that are counting on you. For example, I used to, for several years, I was a 5:30 a.m. person. I went to 5:30 a.m. every day, and part of the reason I was able to get up so early, prior to that I don't know that I was a morning person, was like I had to pick someone up in the morning. I knew my friend Sarah was going to be here in the anyway, was gonna be here in the morning. And so that was the only time for us to hang out. So I knew that I wanted to get there because I wanted to, you know, see my friends, and I knew that somebody was waiting on me for a ride. And then I think with the challenge groups, you have that, you know, you have a built-in support system. You have a place you can go to with questions. You have people you can go to for questions, and you have people who are encouraging you. And you have like a plethora of resources. So like if you're in the challenge group, you have people posting like, listen to this podcast, or like read this book, or sometimes with the challenges, there's like a weekly question, and it's like, read this article. So you're given resources, and like I said, the biggest thing for me is just understanding why I do things. I know that generally, like if you teach adults, that's the first thing they tell you to do is give them that why, because that's what's going to invest you. And I think being part of those groups, I've learned more about the why we do this, why we lift this way, why we eat this way, or why you take this, or why you take fish oil, or, you know, all those things. So I think the community, going back to your question, is just bringing you to that commitment and having that support system. So I know if I didn't show up for a week, someone would be like, hey, where are you? Like, my friends would probably be like knocking on the door. If I went on a bender with like fried food, somebody would be like, that's not okay. Whereas before, if I just went to my regular gym, you know, I had friends that I would sometimes meet, but sometimes not. And then the only person that I had, you know, holding me accountable for what I was eating was me, which, you know, if you're kind of transitioning from not so healthy to healthy, it's hard just having yourself as like an accountability buddy. So I think that's what I've gotten from Roux and the community and the challenge groups. I mean, I would say like small changes, and I think that's kind of what I've done, maybe like 12 challenges or whatever. I've done almost all the challenges, and each time, like, not everything may stick, but one or two things stick, and then one or two more, and then one or two more, and that's that compound effect where, you know, all these small changes start making huge changes. Like, I mean, like I said, my A1C was 6 something when I first joined, and then after that first challenge, it went from like 6.4 to 6.1, and then it progressively got, you know, and it wasn't that I made huge changes overnight, but it was small changes that add up. So I would say, number one, like, work on small changes, target something like, I'm not gonna drink soda this week, or I'm gonna drink 1 soda, or I'm gonna hit 3 workouts a week, or I'm just gonna take 1 meal a week that I normally would go out to eat, and I'm going to make it at home. And I would say the second thing is, like, you really can change things with food and exercise. I know that, I mean, there's times that you definitely need medication, so I'm like not advocating don't take any medication. But throughout the past, I want to say 10 years, I've been prescribed medicine for cholesterol, thyroid, obviously diabetes, and I never took any of them because my mom was always like, don't take medicine you don't need, don't get surgery you don't need. So that's kind of always been my thing. So I never took those medicines, and most of my stuff is like very much in check now, and it is through diet and exercise and sleeping and, you know, making those good choices. So I would say, yes, number one, small changes. Number two, make those small changes first, and, you know, wean yourself off. If you're on the medicine now, that's fine, but make those changes and track it and see how that impacts, you know, your health, and then maybe you can wean off, because I know I'm not the only person who's done it, so it's obviously doable.
Yeah, you're a rock star, Kristin. Thank you. Cool.